Welcome back, and joining me with more insights on the day's trade is Faheema Adia from Momentum Securities. Faheema, thanks so much for your time today. Another word on everyone's mouth is tariffs, and President Trump really sending markets into the red with his latest round of duties, a blanket tariff of 10% and additional tariffs are for the countries it says are its worst offenders. I mean, markets were expecting big moves, but it seems like markets weren't expecting the scope and scale of tariffs we saw come through yesterday.
Good evening, Ntoleng. Yes, I think that's the exact reason why we're seeing such a sharp sell-off in the markets today, is because these tariffs actually ended up being a lot worse than what investors were expecting. We're seeing all markets now across the globe sell off, including our JSE. I think at this stage, though, we are hoping that the sell-off is limited, given that Trump is perhaps using this as a negotiating tactic. And best case scenario, we could actually see these tariffs maybe reverse in the next few months or actually get reduced.
A negotiating a tactic as well as a bargaining tactic. It was interesting to see when he, held up a white flag earlier last week when he spoke about TikTok and them divesting from, or rather selling their U.S. operations, and that he'd consider, less tariffs on China if they did do that. That deadline also looming, and it doesn't seem like, they are going to budge as yet. Are we in for another ban in the US?
Yeah, so I think you're quite right on that, and that's maybe why he's been so aggressive on China. So if we look at the reciprocal tariffs that he's put on China, it's 34%, and that's in addition to the 20% tariffs that he's already imposed on China earlier in the year. So that brings it up to a whopping 54%. But like you said, I think it could just maybe be a negotiating tactic ahead of this deal with TikTok, and just to try and get the upper hand there.
I mean, following this move, yes, we are saying that we could see a reversal of these tariffs. But are you concerned about, the global growth picture, the global inflation picture?
Yes, of course. I think these tariffs are already having an impact. I believe there's a number of companies in the US that have already pushed up their prices in preparation for the tariffs. And overall, it will have a very negative impact on global economic growth. A lot of the economists are saying that it could lead to a global recession. And worst case scenario, we could also see a stagflationary environment in the US. The US will be hit quite hard, but globally inflation will go up. The pressure on consumers will increase significantly. So I don't really feel like there will be many winners at all.
Now, amid the volatility, we are seeing some winners, as we are seeing a flight for safety. Gold being one of the beneficiaries of that. Surprisingly, the Japanese yen also benefiting. Talk to me about the dynamics playing out there, particularly with the yen. Considering the routes that we saw last year, you'd expect maybe people to hold off on the yen.
Interesting, given that Japan will be hit pretty hard by these tariffs, and they export a lot of their autos to the US. So that will take a toll on Japan's GDP. And, it could also put pressures in terms of increasing the interest rates there. So it is interesting to see that. I think maybe just looking for opportunistic trades given this environment. But then looking at the gold side of things, it has been doing tremendously well. We've seen the gold price reach record highs earlier this week. And I think the main appeal there is that gold is an inflation hedge. And because these tariffs are expected to be highly inflationary, investors are looking at it as a safe haven.
Let's take a look at some currency action. I mean, the rand really holding up well. It did, hit 19 to the dollar earlier in today's session, but we are seeing that recovery come through against the dollar in particular. It's still weaker against the pound, still weaker against the euro. Talk to me about the factors, fueling the activity we are seeing now. Is it more on the back of, the tariffs that we've been seeing, or are the local dynamics coming into the picture as well, as we have, jitters around the GNU following that budget vote yesterday, and the dynamics that have been playing out between the DA and the ANC?
Yes, I really think it's likely a combination of both of those factors. So, like you said yesterday, we saw a bit of a fallout with the GNU after the DA voted against court and so forth. And it's really disappointing because I think that the positive sentiment from the GNU last year is what really contributed to the JSE rising and the Rand remaining firmer and resilient. So I'm really hopeful that they can come to some kind of a resolution on this, because it will have a dramatic impact on the Rand and on the markets. And then the other issue, of course, is this 30% reciprocal tariff that the US has imposed on South Africa, and the concerns that AGOA will not get renewed late in September.
A lot of issues to consider. There are a lot of factors to think of as well. Faheema, before I let you go, what is your stock pick today? Are you actually hanging your hat on anything?
It's so difficult to say amidst all the volatility.
Yeah.
But given the sharp sell-off that we've seen in financials this week in that sector, it's down almost 10%. I think once the dust settles, there does seem to be opportunity here. If we look at the big four banks in particular, they're looking pretty attractive in terms of those valuations. And I think if we do see President Cyril Ramaphosa manage to come to some kind of an agreement with Trump on reducing those tariffs, and the GNU come to some kind of a resolution to work together going forward, that would definitely result in a bounce back in that sector.
So banks ones to keep an eye for. Faheema, thanks so much for your time and just taking us through the day's markets action. That was Faheema Adia from Momentum Securities.